I'm not broken. I've been feeling like so completely trying to bulldoze my way through this and without even having a little bit of compassion for myself. I'm like, okay, it totally makes sense now. It totally makes sense. I'm not blaming anybody. I'm not shaming anybody. This isn't where anybody has done anything wrong. And, this is just, it is what it is.
Yeah.
It is the life that happened. It is the patterns that happened. It's the experiences that happened. Nobody's at fault. It's not good or bad. It's what was.
We'll make it out and fall in love tonight.
The last thumbnail that I did, I removed the microphones via AI.
Yeah.
And it worked
well?
somewhat well.
I remember hearing you laugh really
There was one
hysterically at
time
point.
where, because it worked great on yours, where I removed it and the microphone was gone, and because it fills in the, whatever was there, it fills it in with something. And yours was great. Like, it looked perfect. And then I did mine, and it filled it in with another microphone and a hand holding it. And so I erase all of this part, right? And it's supposed to be like the AI is going to remove it or whatever. And instead it just puts like some
you want it over
long
here.
arm, funky, weird hand
that
coming
creepy?
off screen and just like this shitty microphone. It was so funny.
Was that way weird?
It was okay. I mean, it wasn't weird. It was just funny.
I hope you don't use that part. Like, I just did something to my tooth, and I'm like, So you're talking about weird mics and hands, and I'm
Over
got
there
my fingers in my
cleaning your
mouth.
teeth
I wasn't
out?
cleaning
You need my
it. Just like,
toothpick?
no, there's nothing in my teeth.
Are you sure?
No, is there? I haven't ate anything.
There's nothing.
There
in your
shouldn't
teeth.
be.
You're good. You're good. Yeah, it was funny. AI is great.
AI, yeah.
Might be the end. Might be the beginning.
Well,
We never know.
I guess we'll find out.
That's what it feels like, I think, a lot of times when things
Yeah.
are not coming to an end, but when things are transitioning into something new, oftentimes it feels like death, right?
Yeah.
So
Often.
AI is just going to be a thing of, I don't know.
What if
AI
it's
is gonna be.
both?
What if?
What if it's because things
Are
it is like
dying?
when things shift, it's like the little deaths.
Yes.
No, I think that's orgasms. Don't they call little deaths orgasms in like some European literature or something? I thought I remember hearing that somewhere. It's like the little death. I don't know.
When you orgasm?
I thought it was like anyways, what I was speaking to before I got sidetracked by little deaths is the end of something is like the death of something. It's the end of something, and it's a time without AI.
Yes.
Like that time is. So that's just me trying to be positive. Like, just because things end doesn't mean it's bad.
Right.
And sometimes you really want things to end, and sometimes when things end, it's really bad. Who knows? We'll just find out.
We'll find out.
That's
Future.
who's got it on their bingo cards. Like, who's got what?
We
Who's
should
got
make
what?
up some bingo
A26.
cards for 2025.
Yeah.
Yeah, but they should be like positive.
Positive.
Yeah, like all the things that we want on our bingo
Yeah.
card for 2025. What would you put on yours? Like, what's just one?
Which just one? I'd like to be able to answer questions quickly when put on the spot and not freeze. I would like to be confident in my answers and my voice and not feel like, oh, I've only got one shot. I have to pick the perfect mop and I can't mess it up, just to be able to answer and not be afraid when I get answered a direct question that I'm going to answer wrong.
So-
I'd like confidence. Confidence is on my 2025
Yes.
bingo card.
That's a good one. I
Confidence.
like that.
I'm going to put that one on my bingo card for this one too.
Put that right in the center, right? Confidence.
Confidence.
Confidence
It's the
to
free
move forward.
space. You always have confidence.
Yeah,
Confidence.
I
That's
like
my
that.
center button. Confidence.
I want a magical anniversary trip.
Oh,
Something that I can't even imagine right now, but I want it to be something that just is like, holy moly, this was incredible. Because we haven't had one of those trips for a while.
yeah.
We used to have them on a regular basis, not on a regular, I mean, it was like every other week right now. But we used to go out on our anniversary and different times of the year and everything like that.
We would get
and
away a couple of times a year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hasn't been that way for a couple of years now.
Well, no, it hasn't.
But I think next year we're going to have a couple of adventures. Hopefully. The plan is to do
Yeah.
like 10 trips. We'll see if that still happens.
Right? 10 for 10.
Right. And all of those I want to be breathtaking and mind-blowing and amazing and incredible and beautiful and connective and all those kind of things. But I feel like if we can do it and plan it and coordinate it and schedule it and figure it out, the one that is like on our actual anniversary should just be fucking incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like something that we can't even envision yet. It's coming. That's on my 2025
I
bingo.
like it.
Right.
Yeah.
We'll see.
We'll see.
And we'll talk about it on next episode of the
Right.
podcast.
I mean,
I thought about
one of them.
I thought about what we could talk about today. I know we talked about yesterday what we were going to talk about today.
We did.
And I don't
On
honestly,
the way home
yes.
from door dashing, from exhaustion, we're like, what is it going to be?
I know. Late at night,
Yeah.
after a day of dashing around. Yeah, I have no
Dashing
idea.
through the
I don't
snow.
remember what we decided
We
upon.
decided that we were too tired to talk about it.
Oh, yeah.
And we were going to talk about it later.
Here we are. It's later. That's how we plan.
Right?
Because I've been editing the last episode with Annabelle, putting it together and everything like that. And truthfully, it was just a couple of days that we recorded that episode. It came out today. So if you're listening to this episode, it was the episode that came out before this, which was on Monday. It's episode 51 with Annabelle. Go listen to it. It's really honestly it's one of my favorite episodes that we've done.
Yeah.
And it was so impactful. And so I thought that we could break down a little bit our takeaways from that episode, because it wasn't just the episode and it's not just Annabelle and how incredible she is, but it was like she had so many little things that she said that were just so profound. One of them was that awareness of recognizing all of these coping mechanisms, all of these things that we have, these limiting beliefs, the stuff that holds us back from being the version of ourselves that we want to become and everything like that, right? And then the understanding that some of those behaviors and some of those things that we do to keep ourselves safe and small come from a time period when we were little and we were afraid and we were in trauma or whatever, right? And the coping mechanisms and the things that little version of us had to do in order to survive. Fast forward to today, that part still doesn't feel safe enough. So it's still holding on to those beliefs or holding on to those behaviors. And that was just like, oh my gosh, it's profound. It was so profound for me in the moment. And it still is. And I was, cutting content and turning it into different things. And I was just like, man, and I've been thinking a lot about it since too, where I have all of these behaviors and all of these coping mechanisms and all of this stuff that I'm trying to heal and change and understand my way through. And the compassion that I have now for myself is so much bigger when it comes to these things, because I recognize, oh, that part of me just doesn't feel safe yet to put that down. Mm-hmm. So it's less about criticizing and judging myself and more about what can I do? What actions can I take as the fully fleshed out adult that I am today, like in my highest and greatest good, right? Where I have all of my faculties and all of my awarenesses and all of that stuff. What can I do in the present moment to help cultivate and create an environment and a life and a place where that part of me that doesn't feel safe to set that thing down can finally set that thing down and feel safe? So that's what I've been kind of sitting with and thinking about since the episode, since we recorded with her, is it was like, okay, I've got a lot of these little coping mechanisms, some of them big, some of them little, and they all stem from childhood. And it makes so much sense that it was like, oh, those parts just don't feel safe. So what can I do to help them feel safe now? And I know that it's like a lot of it's in our wheelhouse already with parts work and inner child work and all the stuff that we do. But again, it was one of those moments that just really landed and I heard differently. And I love when that happens. Like I love when that happens on the podcast, when we have a guest come on, or you'll do it all the time too, where you'll say something and I'm like, hold up, you just said
What?
X, Y, and Z. But I wondered if you had been sitting with that one as well, because I know that it was impactful for you.
Yeah, I think we both were like, wait, what? It was the compassion part that got me about, like, I'm very goal oriented. Like, we're going to fix it. We're going to fix it. We're going to fix it. And when you see something, like, I get the compassion part in the moment, right? I get the compassion part of like you said, with parts work, it's in our wheelhouse. We're going back to that little part and we're giving that part what it needs. But my patience for myself is very small. And so I will embody that moment. I will go back to that moment and give that part what it needs. And then I'm like, okay, we're done. Let's go. Like, it needs to be fixed now. The thought of like, I'm always goal oriented. How can I fix this? here's something connected to my childhood. Here's a wound. Here's something that has been holding me back. I can look at how is this still serving me, because I'm going to fix it right now because I don't want that thing anymore. And it didn't occur to me to sit with it and be compassionate and not try to fix it. I'm supposed to, and I couldn't understand it for a minute. But she walked us through it so beautifully, or walked me through that part. And when she connected the pieces, it was like, oh, okay, I definitely can have compassion for that part as is without needing to fix it. And then I feel like I'm trying to remember exactly what it was, but when we were out yesterday, one of those moments came up. I was emotional yesterday.
I didn't notice. Really? That's weird. I didn't catch that.
So I was a little overwhelmed or overstimulated. And we had an awareness, and it was about play. And it was in that moment where I was like, oh my gosh, I just want to sit here with this version of myself. I just want to sit here with this awareness and hold space. I wasn't looking at fixing it. I wasn't looking at, okay, now we got to correct this behavior, and just realizing how much of that is a core wound of it's not fixing it's correcting my behavior. And my behavior was always like never. So I'm always wanting to correct my behavior, get it right, get it right, get it right. And having that awareness with Annabelle allowed me the space to sit in that. And I'm like, I don't want to rush past this part. I don't want to bypass that little part of me that didn't get to be seen and validated and understood and loved. I'm going to sit here with that for a long time because I've been invalidating it. At some point I stopped being invalidated and I began invalidating myself. And I stopped being like held from like the outside or having these things. And I just have done it to myself. So that means I need a lot of healing from myself and a time to see that. So that compassion part just flipped it. And where I'm sitting right now, I'm going to get a lot of practice being compassionate, because there's a lot of things right now that are like, oh, you want to look at something? Here you go. And whew, like this morning was hard, but
that thing that you just said, I just had this vision of how we kind of navigate and move through life in the way that because you and I both struggle with self-talk and the way that we view ourselves, think about ourselves, talk to ourselves, internal dialogue, all of those things. And it makes and this is something that, again, we reiterate over and over again, and we talk about over and over again. And it's not like, brand new information. People talk about it all the time, but it just really clicked in my head in this moment where it was like the way that I was treated as a kid, especially by parents and by loved ones. And, it's not just by your parents and stuff like that. It's by society as a whole, right? But that becomes the way that I think I'm supposed to treat myself.
yes.
That becomes the way. So like the way that I am talked to, the way that I, like the way that you're like, you don't have patience for yourself. You're like, just sitting with yourself and allowing that little version of yourself to kind of process, feel, express, just feel safe in the moment.
Mm-hmm.
You're like, come on, let's go. Hurry up. We don't have time for this. That's probably exactly how it was experienced when you were a kid, right?
Yeah.
Where it was like, oh, I'm sad. You're like, okay, what's going on? That's fine. That's wrong. You don't have anything to be sad about. Let's go.
Yeah.
We got to go. Right. And so I just really, and I'm not going to, because this just happened when you were talking. I'm like, so all the ways that I talk to myself, all the ways that I treat myself were the ways that I was taught via the ways that people taught and treated me.
Exactly.
And so I just understood that it was like, oh, that's how I'm supposed to treat myself because that's how other people treat me.
Mm-hmm.
And because I think we're just these big sponges, not just when we're kids, I think it's constant, right? We're just a sponge for energy, information. We literally see the world around us, and then that's how we interact and move through the world. It makes so much sense that is what is taking place all the time. However I am treated, however I am talked to, however I am viewed, looked at, that's how I treat myself, because that's how other people treat me. So that must be what I'm worth, what my value is. That's how I'm supposed to be treated. So it would just make sense that that's how I treat myself. How else would I treat myself? I've never seen somebody treat me a different way. So it would make sense that that's how I'm supposed to treat myself, is like that. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I mean,
And then at some part, it's like, it's the sad truth of it. And when you're in that loop, you keep finding people to validate that experience that match what you know to be how you should be treated.
mm-hmm.
And so it's that whole like cycle that goes, and if it doesn't match, so if you've been treated really poorly and taught yourself that this is how you're supposed to be treated, you don't trust kindness, and you can't even like you'll sabotage it to get to where you have that chaotic thing. So it just like it builds and it builds and it builds. So even when you get to the point of where, or at least for me, right? Even when you get to the point of where you're healing, you're looking at things, you're setting boundaries, you're not allowing people in your space that treat you like that anymore. Like, how does that voice still happen? Like back there, like, how does that still, like, you're still treating yourself, or at least that's where I found myself. I wasn't for a long time. I wasn't treating myself this way. I got to a point where I was very active in my awareness. I was very active in mirror work. I was very active with shadow work. I was very active in looking at myself and diving in. And I could not talk bad about myself. I could not treat myself poorly. I was always saying loving things to myself. I was feeling, and when you stop practicing, it just kind of stops shifting. So can you think about times of where you've been really moving your body, you've been doing a lot of like shadow work, you've been doing a lot of inner work, you're allowing yourself love and compassion, and watch the way that you talk to yourself. And then when you're starting to kind of revert back, or something big comes, some life change, some big trigger, and then you find yourself reverting back to what you were learned, what you were learned, what you learned when you were little, those coping mechanisms of how you talk to yourself, the no compassion, the judging yourself, the not thinking you're worthy, the feeling like you have to always be doing something. It's like it comes back and can take over if you don't catch it in time. So is that like, how are you finding yourself in that space right now?
I am very much, like, I agree with everything you just said. And it is very much the thing where it's like, it's almost as soon as you get thrown off course, right?
Yeah.
You start back over where you started. And so it's like, I've got a default program of shame and all of these kind of different feelings and thoughts about myself. And I'm trying to change those thoughts. I'm trying to change those beliefs. I'm trying to reprogram this fucking thing. And along the way, if I get thrown off course because of issues and things and stuff that comes up, then I have to start back over where not just where I just left off, but oftentimes I think it's the severity of whatever throws you off the course, right? Like sometimes you can manage little things and continually kind of keep yourself in check and in line. But when life throws big curveballs your way and things like that, you have to really be prepared, because otherwise this is what happens, where we just fall back to, our base programming, and then you have to work all the way back up. And it's not necessarily all the way back up. I feel like it's easier to get back to this spot. I feel like I've been doing that the last couple of months, where life's just been really difficult and hard. And so I'm struggling with all of my shame and all of my coping mechanisms and all of these things that are really detrimental to me. And instead of all the other things, right? All the healthy things and all the healthy programs and all the stuff that we do to kind of keep ourselves mentally and emotionally and physically and all those kind of different areas balanced and healthy.
Yeah.
So it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. I just had this, there's that, it's hard to see it when you're in it. And it doesn't, like, even if there's a big moment, you lose these like little parts of you piece by piece. It's like the saying of like, I've never ate a frog. I'm never going to eat a frog. Like never. If you do, that's you. I don't, but that's like, I don't even know if that's really how you cook frogs. Anyways, I don't need to over explain it. I don't need a trauma response explain it. If you put a frog in boiling water, it just jumps right out, right? It just jumps right out. And if you put a frog in like the warm water and slowly turn it up, it doesn't know until it's too late. And I feel like that happens. Like it's these little, like, please don't do anything to frogs. Like, don't test that. But it's just a saying that always stuck with me.
No frogs were harmed in the filming of this podcast.
And don't harm frogs. Just don't do it. Frogs, they're not food. Just don't do it.
Frogs aren't food.
Frogs are friends, not food.
Says Kermit the Frog.
But like that hit, like these things happen. Even like when big turmoil happens, big trauma responses. Like, I'm speaking for myself in this moment. I just had this epiphany. And yes, I said epiphany, even though epiphany. But just realizing like I've been really on myself about how bad I'm doing, how bad of a job I'm doing. And I didn't start off, like I had this huge thing that happened, but so many other things that were out of my control that I chose to step into, and so many things that I didn't have control. And I'm just feeling like it's been like I started off doing well, and I've continued to kind of like not do well and worse and worse. And it's because things get momentum. So I've allowed past behaviors. I've allowed old injuries. I've allowed to have momentum in my space, piece by piece, not all at once, piece by piece. And like to the point of like, I'm getting really bad intrusive thoughts, and I haven't had to deal with really bad intrusive thoughts that are really hard to fight off for a long time. And so that's like, like, it's enough of a shock to my system to be like, how is this happening?
So if you haven't heard yet, we picked up pickleball and we're having a blast. It's super, super fun. And if you haven't started playing yet, I hope that you do soon. And if you do, we want to help you by avoiding what we did. See, when we started playing pickleball, we just went on Amazon and found some paddles that looked cool. Little did we know, but they actually were hurting our pickleball game and holding us back from being the absolute best pickleball players that we could be. And when we found out that there was a pickleball paddle company here in Tennessee, actually not too far from where we live, we got super excited. Element 6 was started by a couple of brothers who were passionate about the sport and decided to go in and make their own paddles because they needed something that served their purposes a little bit better. Lucky for us, they're now sponsoring the podcast. And I can tell you from experience that their paddles definitely make a difference. The very first time I picked up their paddle and just held it in my hand, I knew I was going to be a better pickleball player as soon as I started playing with it. And it turns out I totally am. They have paddles for everybody, for the beginner, the intermediate, and the pro level. Head over to our website, stephandcraig.co, and click on the link for E6 pickleball paddles. I highly recommend their brand new one, the Torrent, which is what we play with. When you're ready to buy, make sure to use the code Steph and Craig. Not only will you save 10%, but the guys over at E6 are also going to send you out a free gift along with your order. So pick up pickleball, pick up a new paddle from Element 6. We hope to see you on the court soon. Not too long ago, I went down the rabbit hole of trying to find us some new clothes that didn't have all sorts of toxic stuff in them. I was tired of wearing synthetic material when I worked out, when I did things like jiu-jitsu and yard work and hiking and everything like that, because it wasn't really breathable and it started to stink a lot as well. Well, lucky for me, I found Woolly clothing. Woolly uses natural merino wool, and I'm a huge fan. All of their clothes are super soft and they feel really, really good next to your skin. Their clothes are naturally moisture repellent, so when you're wearing them and working out, it almost feels like it's cooling you off. They're also odor resistant, so they don't stink after you wear them. They have a great line of men and women's clothing, and if you've never tried merino wool, I highly recommend Woolly. I've got their boxers on right now. Every episode of the podcast, I wear one of their V-neck shirts. I'm really excited for when the weather starts to change and it starts to cool off a little bit, because then I get to put on my Woolly hoodie again. Head over to our website at stephandcraig.co and click on the link for Woolly. And when you're ready to check out, be sure to use the code Steph and Craig. You'll save 15% on your order. Show them some love and get yourself a great pair of merino wool socks or underwear, or boxers, shirts, pants, shorts, tank tops, workout gear, you name it. Woolly has it.
How is this happening?
Why are my thoughts going there again?
Why am I here? How is it like? And I know better than to let those thoughts get momentum. But sometimes they start to.
Yeah.
And it's those little pieces that happen. And I'm so wrapped up, or I've been so wrapped up in like the tailspin that I haven't been able to zoom out until like almost this moment. And it's that compassion piece. when you're in it, you can't see it as much. But you can see when you're helping somebody else. You can see when, somebody, I'm sure it's been really obvious to you. You might have been talking to me about it. I haven't heard, but I haven't been able to see it until like this compassion came in. And I just looked at everything that's been going on in my life right now, everything that I experienced. And if I was coaching somebody right now, compassion would be what I was bringing to them, being like looking at the bigger picture, looking, not like look on the bright side, just like seeing the picture as a whole instead of like this little tiny thing. And what have I experienced being back in my childhood home, all of the things that like came up. Of course I'm tail spinning. Of course my body went to that like little kid mode. Of course I'm having these things that like I just got like dropped into it. And I'm like, why am I feeling this way? Why can't I fix? Well, I just like, I got immersed in it hard.
Yeah.
And just like having a little bit of that awareness is like, oh, I'm not broken. I've been feeling like so completely like trying to bulldoze my way through this and without even having a little bit of compassion for myself. I'm like, okay, it totally makes sense now. It totally makes sense. I'm not blaming anybody. I'm not shaming anybody. This isn't where anybody has done anything wrong or this is just, it is what it is.
Yeah.
It is the life that happened. It is the patterns that happened. It's the experiences that happened. Nobody's at fault. It's what was. It's not good or bad. It's what was. I'm past the part of assigning blame. It's what was, and I'm over here. And I'm like, of course my body reacted to that. Of course my mental health just plummeted. So many things happened that I didn't even know. Like I couldn't have guessed I would have felt that way in a million years. I couldn't have guessed in a million years that things would have gone the way that they've gone. So I am in such uncharted territory while being like dunked in the past. And I'm like, why am I feeling this way? Why can't I pull it together?
Yeah.
What are all these
You
intrusive
spent a
thoughts?
month there,
right? And it
in your
wasn't
childhood home, babe.
like that. If anybody else was, I'm like, how do you think that's not going to affect you?
Yeah.
Like, obviously that was hard.
Yeah.
And I've been so focused on fear and like my fear of the future. Like I'm really, really worried about my mom.
Mm-hmm.
I'm worried about our kids. I'm worried about like, it's hard to take a moment to say, this was hard for me when I'm like, I don't know how everybody else is doing. It's hard to, I'm like, I'll get to me. I'm not getting to me. I'm now having crazy intrusive thoughts that are really hard that I'm like, oh my gosh, if I'm going to need intervention, but just sitting here and be like, oh, it makes sense. And it's so obvious now. I can see it so clearly. And again, I'm not looking to rush past it. All I want to do is now wrap myself up in love and give myself some compassion. Be like, oh, sweetheart, that was fucking hard.
Yeah.
That was so hard. And I'm not saying it wasn't harder for other people because I know it was. But that doesn't take away the extreme difficulty, the pain, and as hard as it was for me. I'm not minimizing anybody else's pain. I'm not taking any of that. I'm not trying to ask for anybody else to take care of me. I'm like, that was hard and I need care and I need love and I need to be compassionate with myself. And I've just been in like go mode, just trying. That compassion is such a huge key, and it was such a foreign concept. And Annabelle, we love you. Thank you. Like I'm big on self-love. I used to be so good at it.
You still are
at
good
it. Somehow the compassion, I didn't have it.
Yeah. That makes total sense.
Right? Self-love was healing. Self-love was action. Self-love was doing it right. Self-love was achieving goals. Self-love was boom, 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 getting it done, checking it off. I was only able to love myself if I feel like this, I'm singing your song right now. If I'm accomplishing something, if I'm checking things off, if I'm doing really good, then I can practice self-love. But compassion for yourself when you don't love yourself, compassion for not being goal-oriented, compassion for just sitting in the muck for a minute without making yourself garbage for it. I was like, yeah, you're in the muck. Let's go. Yeah, you're in it. You're feeling it. Let's go. Like I missed it.
Yeah. It
And
makes sense.
you bringing it up right now, like wanting to talk about it, like I just flushed it through. I sat here and had the moment here, and because you brought this up, I just flushed it through. Thank you. I don't think you were meaning for that to be like a thing from, but I'm like, hold on, I just had a breakthrough.
What's funny is yesterday when we were talking about what we were going to talk about today, we were like, man, let's just like, we're so tired of hard emotional episodes.
I forgot.
And I think it's like, 20 minutes in and we're crying and there's tears but that's normal, obviously. That's fine. It is what it is.
Right.
It's a very, like the idea that like what you experienced and what you went through with your dad passing away and everything and how it all happened and how it all played out and how you were how you were then there for such a long period of time and having to be in all of that stuff. I mean, that's a movie. That's like, you fly home and you have to navigate all of those things from your childhood confronting you every single moment. Everywhere you walk, everywhere you go, everywhere you turn, you're in it 100% of the time. And it's like, of course that's going to have effects on you.
Right.
Of course you're going to have some ramifications. It's not it's not like, okay, well, get over it, heal it, you're done with it, hurry up, let's move on. It's, oh no, that's big. Yeah. It's huge.
It wasn't even like the heal it, be done with it. It was that, like my poor mom, right? What she's going through and her choices that she's making, our kids, what they experience, the very difficulties that they experience. It's like, it just doesn't, like, why would I take up space when there's all these things without realizing we all take up space and it doesn't take away from anybody else. It doesn't like
say that again.
I don't we all take up space and it doesn't take away from anybody else.
And that's okay.
And that's okay. Yeah. We all take up space and it doesn't take away from anybody else. And that's okay.
Your experience is your experience.
Yeah.
And it was big. And it doesn't need to be like ignored or minimized or pointed at because other people had it worse or you had a really big experience.
I did.
And it gets to take up space in your life. And it's important to see and recognize and be with.
Yeah. Working on it.
You're doing really good.
Compassion.
You're doing really, really good at it, right?
Compassion.
I had awareness this morning as I was thinking about this topic, thinking about this idea of like having compassion for these parts of me, having compassion for these things that it's so easy to see yourself through the lens of all of that negativity, right? It's so easy to just stay in that space of I'm worthless. I have all of these mistakes about me. I'm not worthy. I'm all of these kind of things that a lot of people tell themselves. We're not alone in these thoughts and feelings and whatnot. It's a really big program that people have to deal with. And some people never make it, right? Some people never get through that process of actually seeing the truth of what it is underneath all of that. But I was thinking about all of it and I was like, it feels so significant to me to see it now as this opportunity to just like I was saying at the beginning, where I want to cultivate and create an environment where all of the parts of me that don't feel safe suddenly feel safe. Yes. Even the ones that feel really, really ashamed and really, really scared, right? the little parts of me that are still hiding out in the shadowy, darkest parts of my psyche and the recesses of my mind and my past and my traumas and everything like that. What can I do today to cultivate a space where they even feel safe enough to come out and be seen and to be heard and to be validated? We're doing this yoga stuff, right? So part of what happened over the past couple of weeks, I think it's been a week or two. Actually, I think it's only been a week. I cannot express how important time is so bizarro. It's just not linear anymore in any way. I have no concept of it. And I think a big chunk of it too is because we don't really live these lives of like, well, we got to go to work Monday through Friday in this traditional fashion of, setting up structure and time and everything like that. And a big chunk of it too, I think, is our kids are all older and stuff like that. So we're not structuring time around their schedules and school and summer vacation. And it's just a free for all. Yeah. So I have no concept of when things begin or end, or when I did this or when I did that, or what's, I don't even know what day it is today.
I started writing it down, and it's in the room though, so we know. I think today's day 6. So I got you.
I've got the end date.
Oh, there you go.
So I didn't worry about what day is this, that, or the other. I know the end date. So
I love that.
Right?
That helps you be like.
Yeah, I'm not concerned about if it's day 6 or day 7. I don't know if it's brilliant.
No, I'm checking it off, and I'm creating calendars in my head. I've already created in my head what I'm gonna make, so I can have the chart, so I can see, so I can do, so I can tick the boxes instead of just being like, that's a lot of work when I can just say
end date. Yeah.
What the fuck?
So what happened?
You just shave so much shit off the to-do list by being like, okay, you're.
Follow me for more hacks.
I am that was amazing.
It was on an episode of Brave Men Dare. And if you're not watching or listening to Brave Men Dare, please do. It's a podcast that I'm doing with a buddy of mine named Ben. It's all about it's our journey of masculinity and healing and different things, but it's also a lot of fun stuff. We just did an episode where we where we shared our love and passion for, not passion. Oh my God. Anyways, it's a great episode. Go listen to Brave Men Dare. And in that podcast, he's doing 75 hard, which is this whole thing that is CrossFit training. And it's this whole thing. I don't even want to explain. I mean, I remember what it all is, right? But I wasn't interested in doing that because I'm not in a place where I want to push myself in that way. It doesn't really resonate with me. But we've talked about it on this podcast where my body's kind of fallen apart. And, telling me, you helped me 2 episodes ago really recognize what my body was actually communicating to me. And that was really impactful. And that helped immensely. And it led to this thing of I'm going to start doing yoga to heal my body. Hello, right? Obviously, we know that it has that capacity and we love yoga. So I was like, I'm going to do 75 days of yoga. And I didn't put anything else around it in my mind. I just said, I'm going to do 75 days of yoga. And I know that over the course of that time period, getting back on the yoga mat and reconnecting with my body is going to have massive benefits. And so it's literally just for 75 days, I just got to get on the yoga mat. I didn't put limits on it. I didn't put structure around it. I didn't say I have to do an hour of yoga every single day. I didn't say any of that on the podcast. I didn't say any about it when I've been talking about it. And I haven't been thinking about it that way. It's just simple. I need to get on my yoga mat once a day and do yoga once a day. And I heard this other podcast recently where they were talking about, I don't remember what podcast this was, but they were talking about, some woman was talking about going for a swim. It was an older woman. She was did we listen to this one together?
Yes. I don't know if we listened to it together or if we both listened to it, but I know exactly what you're talking about.
Was it the one that you shared with me with McConaughey?
I think so.
Okay.
I think so, yeah.
The host of that podcast, I think it's a great modern, what's the name of the podcast?
Do
you have your phone?
I do have
Look
my
it up
phone.
while I'm talking. Anyways, they were talking about, he was telling a story about, because so much of life is set up in this way, especially masculinity. And 75 Hard's a really good example. There's no criticism or judgment about it, but it's this, structured setup goal that you're achieving, and you have to do X, Y, and Z, and you have to push yourself. And I love all of that stuff, and I've done all of that stuff over the course of my life. Go ahead.
It is modern wisdom.
Modern wisdom.
But it doesn't say it does on top. Chris Williamson.
Yeah.
I'm like, it doesn't say his name.
Yeah, it's a good podcast.
I found it just because, anyways, it doesn't matter how I found it.
So he's telling this story because they're talking about all of this kind of stuff in regards to like, how do you push yourself? How do you achieve your goals? How do you do all of these things that life requires? And the story that he was retelling was some woman that looking for the perfect gift for someone that you love? Try thinking beyond the material things and get them the most unique, unforgettable gift possible. A custom song from Songfinch. Songfinch lets you create an original studio quality song inspired by your own life and the ones you love. It's completely unique, personal to you and your story, and will last a lifetime. Songfinch walks you through an easy 4-step process to create your original song. Just tell them who the song's for, provide some personal details about your story, and let them know the type of song that you want. Then pick your favorite Songfinch artist, or get matched with one. They'll write, record, and produce your custom song in just 4 to 7 days. Head over to our website. It's stephandcraig.co and click on the link for Songfinch. When it comes time for checkout, use the code Steph and Craig. You're going to save $20 off your order. Once you get your custom song, be sure to tag us because we want to hear it. We're probably a lot like you, where we had some pans that had been kicking around our kitchen since we met, actually. They're over a decade old, and it was time for them to go. Lucky for us, we found Heritage Still. Heritage Still offers premium cookware that's made right here in the U.S.A. It's actually made here in our backyard in Tennessee. We ditched our old pans and we got ourselves an entire set of Heritage Still. All of their cookware has 5-ply construction, which gives you superior heat distribution and retention when cooking. They also offer a lifetime warranty, which is really hard to find nowadays. Their cookware is versatile for all cooktops. We have a gas range and we absolutely love the way our Heritage pans heat up. They're chemical-free, oven-safe, easy to clean, and Heritage Still is committed to sustainability. They use environmentally conscious practices when producing their cookware. For listeners of the podcast right now, you can save 10% on your order. Head over to heritagestill.us/Steph and Craig, and don't forget to use the code Steph and Craig at checkout to save that 10%. Hey everybody, you know how we're always talking about healing together on the podcast? Well, today's episode is brought to you by a new company that's going to help you do exactly that. They're called OurRitual. Whether you're looking to grow individually or as a couple, OurRitual offers up personalized pathways designed by their research experts and therapists, all with the focus to help you unlock a deeper connection with yourself as well as your partner. You get full access to not just the therapist, but video exercises and other tools that are going to help you on your path. All of that for far less than regular therapy. So if you're looking for a flexible and affordable way to level up your relationship, check out OurRitual. Their website is OurRitual.com. OurRitual.com. Head over to OurRitual.com right now and take their quiz. This is going to help you personalize the experience so that you get the care and help that you need the most. OurRitual offers an alternative to traditional therapy and makes it more affordable, more accessible, and a much more engaging process through their user-friendly platform. Right now, listeners of the podcast can save 20% on their first month. Simply use the code StephandCraig20 at checkout. Again, that's StephandCraig20 and save 20%. Their website, one more time, is OurRitual.com. You and your relationship are worth it. She goes swimming every day. Well, it's like, how long do you go swimming? How far do you go swimming? Like, do you swim a mile every day? And she's like, I just swim until I'm done.
Right. She was so confused. She's like, what do you mean?
I just
like,
go swimming until I'm done swimming.
Don't want to swim.
Until I don't want to swim anymore.
Isn't that cool?
And I was like, that's what I'm doing with yoga. I just do yoga until I'm done doing yoga, however long that is that day. I don't even look at the fucking clock.
Yes.
I don't put up. And the first day that I did it, I was like, what am I going to do? And I was kind of stressed about it. It was the day that I came up with it on the podcast on Brave Men, when I was just like, I got to throw my yoga mat on the ground and get on it. So that's what I did. And I realized when I was done with it, it was so nice to not think about how long it was. Did I do yoga for 5 minutes, or did I do yoga for 15 or 20 or 30, or, to quantify it in order to validate the experience and to justify that I actually accomplished something in the day? Because if I only did 5 minutes, then I'm a loser. And if I did a half an hour, then I'm kind of okay. And if I did an hour, then I'm actually worthy of something.
Then you're worthy, yes.
I'm just getting on the mat every single day. And I love it. Yeah. I love the freedom of not having to criticize and judge myself, and instead just show up and see what happens. Like, lucky for us, we're yoga teachers, so I know how to do yoga. I know how to, I know all the different things, so I can just kind of go with the flow of whatever comes to me. Mm-hmm. And yoga is one of those things too that isn't just the physical act of asana.
Yeah.
And so as long as I'm getting on the yoga mat every single day, I'm checking that box off my list, right? I'm still quantifying it, right? I'm doing it once a day, but it's the freedom and the structure of it is so freeing. And so it just feels so different. And so I'm really, really benefiting from it. And it's only been like a week, right?
Yeah.
But the very like day 2 or day 3, somewhere along the way there, I was doing it and I was in some pose and I started to process stuff, not ideas. Hopefully one day ideas will come to me when I'm doing yoga, but it was shadow. I was thinking about things and I was processing things. And I suddenly realized that the conversation, I need to have a conversation with these different parts of me that are so ashamed of themselves because they have yet to be fully seen and understood. And so it was like recognizing the part, identifying itself, and then just listening to it and asking it, like, why do you like that? Why do you think that way? Why do you feel that way? And then just listening to whatever that they were saying, right? And free from any sort of like, that's probably not the best thing for you. I don't care. Just tell me. I'm just here doing yoga. Let's have a conversation and see what you have to say. Because I'm honestly curious about what those parts of me think and what those parts of me feel and why they feel that way and why they think that way. So that's kind of one of the things that I've been using it for and doing when I'm doing this 75 days of yoga is the opportunity when those parts come up just to ask questions and get really, really curious about them, truthfully. I want to learn more about those parts of me that I don't even truly understand. Like if you think about the most shameful parts of yourself and the parts of you that you are, that, because we all have coping mechanisms that we don't like. We all have coping mechanisms that we're not proud of and that we criticize and judge about ourselves and that we have a lot of shame around, right? And those parts of us that implemented those coping mechanisms from childhood did so in order to survive. And it's kind of what we were talking about with the episode with Annabelle, where they don't feel safe enough yet to set those coping mechanisms down or those beliefs about themselves, right? A lot of times the beliefs around that is I'm not worthy. I'm a shameful piece of shit that I just need to be cast out of society, right? So genuinely just asking like, why do you feel that way? Or why do you think that way? And it's not even just going towards like the shame part of it. It's just getting to like, I'm envisioning this part of me and just learning about it as if it was a kid. Like if you sit down with a kid and they're drawing a picture and they draw a tree that looks weird, or they put something in the tree that you don't really get, they're like, draw a picture of your family, and then they draw a picture of their family and you're like, who's that? And then you get to understand why they drew what they drew or why they feel what they feel. And I'm excited. Like it's an exciting thing. When it happened, I was like, oh, this is cool. I'm excited for this. But I'm also like, obviously scared.
Yeah.
Obviously scared. And you're doing the yoga too. I'm excited.
Yeah, I joined you on that. Not like with you. I wasn't going to give you my calendar. I was just going to keep track of the days on mine.
Yeah.
But I wanted to, first of all, I love challenges. I love yoga and I love like supporting you. So I wanted to do it with you. So you had a partner, but not like
my yoga hips.
Your yoga hips. I want to like, I want to remind, because you're having a moment. I'm going to come back to it. Maybe instead of talk, maybe we can just go to it now. Are you okay if I poke at something?
Do it, babe.
And it's and then I will. I'll talk about my journey. I will. But you're seeing how you have these parts of you that are coming up and that you're speaking to, and you're hearing them. And there's this really cool practice, and this is only because we went into your calves like 2 episodes ago, like you were talking about. We went into your calves. What are they telling you? What's your body telling you? So we were going into the physical body.
Yeah, my calf muscles.
And what they're trying to tell. And you're already doing the practice with your parts. You're already doing the practice with the emotions and the IFS going on with these parts. But it's, I think it was an Eastern Body, Western Mind is the practice that I'm referring to, the Anadea Judith book.
Yeah.
And she talks about it's a root healing process, and you start, and you can do it with yourself, but it's like, I can do it with you, because it's like you get into this process with somebody where they're in this really relaxed state and they're tapping in, they're in their body, you're taking them through a process, and you write it down for them so they don't have to. I haven't let somebody else do it for me. I've just done it myself. So I don't know if it would be different if somebody else was asking me the questions. But you start with your toes, basically. And you're like, you speak as though like your body is a corporation. You have this whole corporation, and you are the CEO that's now interviewing the employees. And like, hi, like start with your toes. What is your job and how do you feel? And so then they answer, my job is to, keep balance, ability. I feel overworked. I feel ignored. I feel, however, and you work your way up to your feet, your ankles, your calves, your knees. You hit every body part, and you listen to them. You tap in and listen to what they think their role is and how they feel about their role, how they feel like they're being seen and appreciated. And so not only do you get this breakdown of these parts of your body that'll tell you what emotions are there, but then when you take away the body parts and you read it as a whole, you get an understanding of like what you're feeling like throughout. Instead of saying, hi, I am my toes and I feel, boom, you're like, I feel, and you read the list. So you get that whole connection. And so I'm throwing that out because you're doing this with your parts. And like, I wonder what, like, if you got curious, like if you asked your calves,
right?
If you, instead of like, I wonder if you were like, hey,
just going straight to the source.
Tell me, what's your job? How do you feel? And like, but that'll be a process for your mat. You don't have to write it down. You can ask them on the mat.
Yeah, I like that idea. I do like it. And I think like in some ways, like you said, that's kind of what I'm doing with these different parts.
That's exactly what you're doing. You intuitively did it.
Well, the physical part of it too is like recognizing. It made me laugh when you said it. You're like, because it made me think of Fight Club. I'm Craig's inflamed.
Oh my gosh,
pancreas or something. I'm Craig's big toe.
See, it's there.
But yeah, that's a really good practice. That's a good idea. Just checking in with the different parts. And I know that one of the things that I love about yoga that I miss because I haven't been super diligent when it comes to any part of it for quite a while now, is just that reconnection with my body. Because when you're describing this process of like going through step by step with each part of the body, I'm kind of jumping around and I'm thinking about the different parts of me. And there's some parts, like if we're sitting at the board table and they're like, okay, Craig's stomach, what do you have to tell us? And we're like, I'm good, I'll pass. I got nothing to say this week. Everything's okay. Like there's so many parts of me that I don't even have awareness of what's going on. Do you know what I mean? I'm so disconnected and dissociated from them that I don't know what they're experiencing. I don't know what they're feeling. I don't know what they're all about. And that would be interesting. Yeah. That would be an interesting thing to kind of look at and unpack and sit with. Very uncomfortable.
It's there's a reason I haven't done it with somebody else. Like we're gonna look at this just
right.
Yes, just me and my thighs. Yeah. We're gonna have a conversation.
Stephanie's thighs.
Right? Yeah. What do they have to say?
What do they have to say? What's a part that you feel comfortable talking about right now? Is there a part that comes out?
Well, you said you mentioned stomach, and immediately, as soon as like the awareness went there, it started hurting. I'm like, oh, we're not gonna go there. It's all right. You can check out for now.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, no, I don't. Yeah, my tongue stopped working. I don't know how
Stephanie's
words.
tongue and what's your mouth want to say?
I'm definitely not comfortable at this point.
For sure.
Yeah.
I don't think I would be either.
Right?
Like, yeah, I don't want you to flip it around and ask me because
I won't.
I'm like, you're kind enough. I'm like, tell us something, Stephanie.
You're like, poke. But to circle back, so I'm doing yoga with you, and off to the side though, I'm trying to like space, but I don't know. So it was this whole thing, and I'm also doing
There's your
My
belly.
belly. I'm also
Stephanie's
doing
belly
weaving.
wants to have an episode. Give it the mic.
I talked about in previous episodes, I'm not going into it, the modality that came from within. So weaving. So I'm like, I wonder, because I've never, I've done it on myself, but I've never like spent a ton of time. It was that thing of like for somebody else. I've done it on myself, but like I'm diligent, with these other things. But what does 75 days look like of me doing it on myself? And I'm like, I'm getting really curious about it. And I've never tried it for physical pain. I've tried it for physical pain. And I'm like, okay.
You mean you've never used weaving for physical pain?
I've never like how it came out, is the massage table. So yes, there's physical pain, but I haven't been like, I'm going to weave. It was these emotions, it was a whole thing, but I haven't looked at myself and been like, my neck really hurts. My head really hurts. I'm going to try. I'm not looking at the energetics. I'm not looking at the emotions or what's tied to it. I'm just going to like
just addressing it on
just
like on a
addressing
different
the
level.
pain, just like on the acute level. I have this headache that is really taken me out, and the way that the things change, the way the threads change, the way that the colors changed, and so I'm learning about it on a deeper level with me. But I'm like, what does it look like? 75 days of giving myself this treatment every day, and
have you been doing it in conjunction at the same?
I have, but I started a couple of days after.
Okay.
So my calendars have 2 different color days pins. So it's like 5 and 3 was what we wrote yesterday.
We just gotta get you end dates.
Because I know, right? Because I'm like, I have to keep a track. I have to like, no, I've done this many days of yoga
crazy.
and this many days. No, this is how my brain does it. I can't like I've got like spreadsheets created.
I was gonna take a picture. I mean, I've taken pictures a couple of days, and I was like, I want to take a picture every day, and I'm like, I don't remember what day this is that I'm taking the picture. I don't know if this is day 4 picture, day 6 picture. I don't fucking know.
Right?
Yeah, our brains are so different.
They are, thankfully, because if they were the same, then you and I would just be like chicken clucking around here. If your brain was like my brain, we'd be like, blah, 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 blah. Like we wouldn't be getting anything done. We'd be going in circles. We'd be like with our one oar,
right,
thinking we're going somewhere.
We got this,
right?
It feels like that sometimes.
Oh, it definitely does.
Right.
So I've started. I'm doing that too.
I'm excited for that.
I'm
excited to see what happens. Yeah. Like the fruit that bears for you. I'm excited to see what that is. I also am excited to experience it. I know that we've talked about it, and you're going to do some on me and stuff like that. And it's like as soon as we just got to find time,
right?
In this nonlinear existence that we're in, where time isn't obviously an issue for us, we still have to find time somehow. Yeah. Create time. Find time.
Create time.
Creatine. We might be using the same brain. Yeah, this might be the same person.
I love that we just like. What's
have you
that
ever
game
seen?
You play?
Let's do it.
Oh,
let's do it.
Pressure. No.
See, I love that we even knew that. We're like, what's that game? I'm thinking of that game too. So let's do that.
I could tell, like, you just shifted when we were in the car. Remember yesterday? And I knew what road we were on. You shifted. And you adjusted in the car, and I'm like, no. When you were on your fun road.
Oh, yeah.
So.
Right.
So these little things that.
So let's play the game.
Okay. Maybe.
So this game, I mean, I've seen reels of it.
Okay.
I've seen it before, right? Okay. I'm sure there's a name to it.
Well, we're going to do camera 1 because if you want me to pay attention to this, I can't.
Okay. So what we have to do is we're just going to look at each other.
We're going to look at each other.
And we're going to say a word.
Barbecue.
Not yet.
Okay.
We're going to set up some structure. But eventually we're going to say the same word.
Maybe. We just said
and we're going to see how many
we
got to see how many rounds it takes.
Okay.
So clear your brain, Stephanie.
That is
get a drink.
Clear my brain.
Yeah.
Clear
your brain,
dots?
get a drink.
Never going to happen.
Empty your brain. Just empty it.
Hey, ask me a direct question.
Here we go.
That's the only way to get my brain to empty.
On the count of 3.
Okay.
1, 2, 3.
Plant.
Fish. Ooh, fish and plant. Here we go. 1, 2, 3. Food.
Sushi.
Ooh, here we go. 1, 2, 3. Chopstick.
I panicked.
Here we go. 1, 2, 3.
Cup.
Heaven.
Heaven.
I don't know. I'm just going with what comes out of my mouth. Cup in heaven is where we're at.
All right.
This game might take a little longer.
It might take a
Hold
little
on, we
longer.
got to take it serious.
Okay.
Let's really focus. Where are
Okay.
we at? Cup in heaven?
Cup in heaven.
1, 2, 3.
Water.
Bowl. You said water already.
Did I?
Yeah, you said water like 2 words in.
Okay.
That's okay. Water and bowl.
Okay. Water and bowl. Okay.
1, 2, 3.
Spoon.
I'm going so blank.
We're sucking at this.
Okay, round 1
Fair.
was practice.
Okay. Okay, now we're ready.
We
Okay.
practiced. That was a practice
We
round.
practice round. Okay.
Really clear your mind. I don't want anything
Shake
in
it loose.
there.
I've already got my word though. How do I shake it out?
You got to get rid of it.
Okay, get out of it.
And you're just going with whatever
Oh my
comes
gosh.
up. Trust whatever comes out of your mouth.
Okay.
On the count of 3.
Okay.
1, 2, 3.
Leaf.
Giraffe. Giraffe and leaf.
Okay.
1, 2, 3.
Spots.
Neck. 1, 2, 3.
Tongue.
I get so caught up. I can't even think. Tongue?
I don't know.
I didn't say anything.
You didn't.
We suck at this game.
You know what? We've played it not on camera and done great.
How do we suck at this game? We
Because we're
literally
on
just
camera.
did it. We both said creatine.
Baby, you need to know when quit when we're at.
Okay.
I'm just kidding.
Those were 2 practice
Okay.
rounds.
Are we going to do it again?
One more time.
Okay.
I want to do it for real. I want
You
to
want to
get
do it for real? Okay.
However many times it takes.
Okay. Here's so my little thought is after we say it, don't then reiterate it.
Okay.
Because if what was it like plant and fish, don't go like, okay, plant and fish.
Okay.
After we say it, just move on.
Okay.
Okay.
Are you ready?
I'm ready.
You do the counting.
I do the
Maybe
counting.
That's the
Okay.
issue.
That's definitely okay. I feel like I'm gonna burp. Okay.
All these words are coming to me right now.
I know you're like, stop.
I know. I'm
Okay.
like, I just need something to rise above the crowd. Here we go.
1, 2, 3.
Blue.
Ball. 1, 2, 3.
Water.
Book. 1, 2, 3.
Novel.
Paper. 1, 2, 3.
Right.
Page. 1, 2, 3.
Writing.
Paint. Did you see writing twice? Okay,
Yes.
we can't do this, people. We can't do this.
Too much
We
pressure.
can't do this. We cannot do it on camera. We cannot perform on camera. This will not be on our OnlyFans page. Like, we can't do it.
45 minutes of us just going.
Right. Do you
word.
know what? I love that we just like doubled down and wouldn't stop. So they're like, what's happening?
Maybe we need to practice
Right.
some more off
So
camera.
if you're listening to this and you listen, did you get the words with us? Were you doing it with us? At
I
what
am
point? Like,
so
if it's
disappointed
that
in
point-
myself.
Oh,
When I saw this reel, I saw some reel of some other
That's
couple
int-
doing it on a podcast. I'm not really disappointed.
are you though?
But I'm genuinely like, I thought we would kill that game. And I remember watching it and I'm like, oh my God, we totally have to do it on the podcast at some point. And here we are. And we just failed miserably.
when we did it in real life, because obviously
When did we do it in real life?
when you listen to the podcast, you had us do it in the kitchen, and I was scared. I'm like, if we can't get this, he's gonna think that.
Oh, did we do it in real
He's
life?
gonna think that I don't love him or that we're not connected. I let all that, so I was so scared, and we nailed it. And I'm like, oh, okay, we're meant to. Everything's fine. And then on the podcast, we couldn't do it.
See, I
so
totally forgot that we had ever done it in real life.
the one that mattered the most. You
I
didn't
thought
fail.
I had just seen it. And then I was like, oh, mental note. Talk to Steph about that.
You did, and we did it in real life,
and we nailed it.
We did, and in real life, IRL, we nailed it. On TV, we did not nail it.
On TV. I love
It's
you.
okay. I
I love you.
Next week, 1, 2, 3.
That's
we're
all we're
gonna
gonna
do
do.
it. Sorry.
We're just going to shift it up
Yeah.
and do these episodes of us talking and saying the words over and over again.
Oh gosh.
So go subscribe to the Steph and Craig Show. Go to support us on YouTube. Go support us everywhere podcasts are available, and share this podcast with somebody. Did I miss
Thank
anything?
you. No, I mean you might have. I don't know. I wasn't.
Buy some woolly. I
Buy
got my
some-
woolly socks on.
Oh my gosh. I got my
Right.
woolly panties on, keeping my tissue warm.
Expect the best.
Fun for the
We
greatest.
got a wild ride. Wait and see, you and me. We were meant to be.
We want to make something perfectly clear. This podcast is intended for entertainment and educational purposes only. It is not intended to be used as a substitute for professional advice. We're sharing with you our own personal experiences and insights. things we have found to be helpful on our healing journey. But we are not licensed therapists. If you need help, it's important to seek out a qualified professional. Remember, we believe that we all do better when we heal together. See you soon.